Hello, Marvelites, and welcome to an all new episode of the MCUExchange podcast. First off, I hope you guys are doing safe, and I hope you guys are doing okay in the midst of the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic. Many countries have been in lockdown, many people are staying at home, and please do wash your hands. This week, we're going to talk about a brief list of MCU news. My name is Aaron. I'll be your host for this episode. Alongside me is Charles
What's up?
and Joe.
Hello.
Just want to give a shout out to all of our listeners. We have expanded to several platforms, not just on Spotify, not just on YouTube. You can also listen to us to four more platforms. That's Anchor, Google Podcasts, Breaker. Did I say four? I meant three. Sorry, forgot the other one. You can check that out on our Twitter page. That's twitter.com/MCUExchange. And you can also like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/the MCUExchange. Let us now dig in to the latest news about the MCU. First up, we have a big rumor here that we need to talk about. It came from our friend Charles Murphy, and he talked about that there's a potential deal that will circle around Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, a potential deal between Sony and Disney. And Charles, what are your thoughts on this? That you're the one who broke this alongside Charles when your Murphy's Law podcast. I just want to hear your thoughts about this.
Yeah, so it's so funny. He just mentions it off the cuff that, oh yeah, there's this. I heard about a deal happening. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? No one knows about
Yeah.
this, so I'm gonna run this. If it's cool with you, it's like okay, do whatever you want. It's it's very interesting because we know how successful the Spider-Man franchise has gotten since Kevin Feige helped Sony sort of rebuild it from the ground, and
Yeah.
it obviously makes sense for if you wanna do another deal for another potential Sony character. Spider-Woman Jessica Drew is the character to go because she's such a she's a very prolific character in the comic, especially in recent years. Obviously, her stint with being quote unquote a spider character and an Avenger makes her live action rights very, very confusing. If I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, the character of Jessica Drew, the name herself, is under Marvel, but should Marvel decide to use her, they won't be able to use any of her famous Spider-Man aspects. So if we're getting Jessica Drew, then we're probably just gonna get like a watered down version of a Hydra agent and whatnot. Because for those of you who don't know, Jessica Drew is a character who's actually she has more ties to the larger Marvel universe than she has with just Spider-Man. In fact,
Mm.
her connection to Spider-Man is probably just the name and her, I guess like I said, her name, the moniker, her actual image of having to use some of her spider-esque powers, but for the most part, she's a very Marvel-centric character, and basically, if they do this deal and if it's true and this deal pushes through, then obviously we're gonna get the best of both worlds. We're gonna get the Hydra stuff or the MCU stuff. We're also gonna get some of the Spider stuff. So it totally makes sense, and I hope this deal pushes through. For the sake of the fandom.
How about you, Joe? Are you excited about the prospect of having Spider-Woman debut in the MCU?
I have to confess, I don't have much experience with Spider Woman. I do think what I've read or what I've seen of the character, I think it's a really interesting aspect, especially considering she was a Hydra agent. The thing for me is, does this also kind of confirm that we might see the return of Hydra to some degree?
Yeah.
Because
Mm.
there were rumors of Falcon the Winter Soldier that potentially have a new version of Hydra in it. They could just as well use that character in that show, introduce her as an agent. But the thing that for me would be interesting is, will they go a real like redemption arc with a character that she starts off on the wrong side and then kind of joins the heroes, or will they try to turn her into a double agent? There's a lot of interesting things they can do with that because it's a character that lends themselves to being more of a anti-hero or something, because we don't see that many in the overall MCU. We don't have many characters that come on the edge of like Punisher or such. Or she could even be introduced as because it looks more and more likely that we're heading towards Thunderbolts. Maybe she's now a spider character for the Thunderbolts or something like that. So they have a representation of the Avengers in the Thunderbolts Dark Avengers storyline. So there's a lot of potential with introducing this character.
Yeah, and then the thing is, Jessica Drew played a big role, a major role in one of the major storylines of Marvel, which is Secret Invasion. Like she was
Yeah.
revealed to be a Skrull double agent, and the idea of having being her being a double agent, triple agent, not just for Hydra, not just for Avengers, only as well for the Skrulls. That totally makes sense, and also the rumored Secret Invasion series for Disney Plus. Maybe Jessica Drew would come into play to that. We don't know.
It's so crazy when you think about it because the Spider Woman name, there's probably 5 characters who have that name. So,
Oh yeah.
that alone
Yeah.
makes it under Sony's purview. But like I said, it's the rights for the character are so weird. But the fact that Kevin Feige is interested in handling Jessica Drew alongside Sony, he's not interested in handling the other Spider Woman characters. He just wants Jessica Drew is very promising because I mean she's the best among all those Spider Woman characters. So it's definitely a win-win for anyone if this happens.
Next up on the list, this has been this is this was inevitable. Like this was just not a matter of if, but when. It's been confirmed
Yeah.
that Black Widow has been delayed indefinitely, and one insider says that it won't affect the MCU timeline that much. But we're gonna talk about that later in the exchange. Just want to ask you guys your general thoughts about this news. Joe, you first.
It's sad to say that yes, it was gonna happen. Right now, like just talking from how it is in Austria right now, rumors are that it will last until May. This until self quarantine thing. It's really difficult to say. It's I think it's sad because this may then end up being the longest we haven't had an MCU release since the
Yeah.
first Iron Man to Iron Man 2. So it's going to be a while, and I wonder if because we were supposed to have a launch event for Disney Plus with reveals, now we don't have now Black Widow's being postponed. I don't even want to think about how much money restarting that entire marketing campaign, having to shift delay the entire film. But what I'm curious about is what does this mean moving forward, especially with news like what's happening right now with Pixar's Onward and stuff like that. If we're going to see a big change in how Marvel is going to approach these films for this year, which we will talk about more in the exchange.
Yeah, so like as you mentioned, it is only a matter of time that this happens. I mean, theater chains are closing for God knows how long in the US. So Black Widow was never gonna, have its proper release date anyway because of all the crazy things happening. Like I am curious, as Joe said, it was just announced today that Disney was putting Onward on and digital. Like after a week in theaters, we're gonna talk about this later, but it's a very interesting thought.
Yeah.
It's so weird because the trailer came out what like 2 weeks ago or last week, and
Yeah.
Last
when
week.
it came out, it seemed set in stone that yeah we're still aiming for this May date, but clearly it's there's no way in hell they're gonna make it. So yeah, I'm super interested in how this is all gonna turn out, how it's gonna affect the slate moving forward. As Joe said, I didn't even realize that this will be our longest time without an MCU film since the
Uh,
first Iron Man, which is fucking insane when you think about
Yeah.
it. So it'll be an interesting time for MCU fans. Like Charles Murphy, my friend, good friend, closed down his Patreon because no one is working in Hollywood. So
yeah.
Yeah.
we're probably gonna be devoid of actual proper casting the next couple of weeks. So it's gonna be super interesting. We're gonna have our longest drought as fans. We're not gonna hear anything, unfortunately. So
Mm.
it's such a weird time to be living. None of us have experienced something like this. So you know, it'll be interesting to see how it turns out in the next few weeks.
There's this news that all Disney live action properties have stopped production. Live action includes movies and TV series, and this includes Shang-Chi, this includes Loki, and this could possibly includes the upcoming productions of Doctor Strange, Thor: Love and Thunder, and this is crazy. And guys, before we go over the exchange, I want to ask your general thoughts on not just Black Widow, not just the MCU, of the entertainment industry being majorly affected here.
yeah, it's obviously very unfortunate for all those who relied on, this the freelancing stuff, everything. Basically everyone that relied on having to go out to actually work and not having a guaranteed paycheck from month to month. It's very tough. I mean, obviously it's not
Mhm.
just limited to the entertainment industry. I mean, everyone. I'm sure Aaron knows. Like here in the Philippines, it's fucking crazy. When you open the news, it's just like all the news is about people trying to cross the border, just trying to get to work, and
Yeah.
it's very it sucks for everyone because everyone's
Mm.
fucking struggling, and Gal Gadot and her friends are just singing a John Lennon song, and they're getting clowned by everyone because of how fucking
Oh my
pointless it
god,
is.
I saw that.
Oh
So,
yeah.
it's unfortunate. I mean, obviously, with regards to the Disney Plus stuff, we heard that Shang-Chi was stopping because of a scare by Dustin Daniel Cretton.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
far as I know, he doesn't have it, right?
Yeah, he's
He,
negative.
yeah, his test came out negative, so at least that's part of the good news, I guess. I hope none of the cast and crew are sick. I mean, obviously, we're getting every day more stars, more celebrities are coming out and saying they're sick. So, I mean, if these fucking rich folks are getting sick, I can't imagine what it's like for the ground folks, for the crew who are actually on the set for countless
Yeah.
hours, who have to sit through everything. I hope they're all okay. Um, it's hard because when they announced that the Disney Plus shows were getting postponed, they also mentioned that for the pre-production people, it's still business as usual. So all the concept art, all the planning and stuff is still happening.
The
But at the same
brainstorming.
time, yeah, the brainstorming and everyone. I hope they're all well. I hope they're not getting forced
Yeah.
to work. They're not forced to meet a schedule because as fans we want them. I basically want their health to come first.
I agree 100% with Charles. Is that it's we hope that everyone's safe, and that should be right now what is most important. I think it's sad to think yes, everything's being stopped, every production. We don't know what this means. The release dates are probably all going to get postponed and everything. But the thing is, right now, is that we have to focus on that everyone stays healthy, that just this whole pandemic goes away because everything is halted for now. I mean, I work in the ad agency, so that is also a complete different the market. Like some clients just don't have the choices they used to have. Some people don't have the choices. We don't know how it's going to go, if we're going to be stuck at home for how long. Austria, we just hear news here and then, but it's going to be it's going to be challenging, and I think that it's Hollywood is hit very hard with it and are rethinking what they can do, what they have to do. So we'll have to see.
Now, let's now move on to the main topic for today. Moving on to the exchange. I'm going to talk about when zero it down the impact of the coronavirus to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How does it affect the timeline? How does it affect the release dates? How does it affect everything in general?
I actually wrote an article like a couple of days ago about how what the fuck's gonna happen in particular with the Black Widow now that it's getting postponed. I'm seeing a lot of people say they want it to premiere on Disney Plus instead.
Yeah,
I think I made a pretty solid argument on why that's not going to be as effective as people want it to be because it's Disney Plus isn't a service that's available worldwide. I know it was supposed to launch in the UK and Europe sometime this month. I don't know if that has pushed through, but this is like probably one of their biggest movies of the year, Disney. So if
hmm
they put it on Disney Plus, it's not gonna make as much money as it would in theaters. Also, you know, the debut of Natasha, or rather the debut more like her solo film, her
yeah,
first solo venture. It's been awaited by so many fans that if it ends up just being a streaming show, I mean, not to reduce the quality of streaming shows, but it would have been better if we get this in the intended format, so fans could celebrate Natasha's solo film, so fans could celebrate Black Widow in general worldwide, because she's such an important character. And again, me and Aaron live in Asia, and Asia is very predominant in piracy. I could bet you that if Black Widow comes out tonight, everyone's gonna fucking pirate the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably would just so I could fucking see it. So, but if it came out in a theater, obviously I'm gonna watch it first thing. So Marvel has a lot more incentive to put it in theaters rather in Disney Plus.
I think the question is to me is that it's on one side a business question. What can they do to still kind of make their money back? Will a delay until the second half year mean anything for a delay for the Eternals? Will we see Black Widow after the Eternals, like it will be in December release or something? I think the biggest challenge will be, I think because there was one point where it was said it's not affecting the MCU timeline. That's the advantage of this movie being a prequel, as per se.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if they release it online, and I say that's a big if, I would say they'll probably release it video on demand, digital release. You have to pay for it, and then have a earlier than planned release date on Disney Plus. So they can at least still have people buying it. But as Charles said, I'm unsure, how much it will be pirated. And then once all of this goes over, they could have. I don't know if you heard about what's happening in China. Well, they're having like the release showcasing all the Avengers films in a marathon as cinemas open again. So I could see them have like a special. It's over. Movies back in the cinemas. Here's Black Widow, or here's the big films you wanted to watch in cinema, take that one of a kind experience. But the question is also like, even if we're allowed to leave homes again, if we're allowed to be more social, will
Yeah.
people still flock to cinemas like they used to? We don't know how this entire course of action right now and for how long it will affect moviegoers or movie viewing audiences. I mean, let's be honest. Disney's lucky that they launched Disney Plus last year,
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
didn't launch it. I mean, it's coming out in Europe right now. I just got mine. It won't be here until 5 days. So in a way, they're lucky that they got U.S. start. They're coming out in Europe. Um, and the question will be is how will they, like, I think the biggest challenge will be how will they communicate it? We got a message. It's being postponed. People are going, even if the situation is shitty, people are going to be pissed off because like, I wanted to see it, and why is it being postponed? There's going to be people that are not taking it serious, and it's going to be a big job for Marvel, for Disney, for any production company right now. Is how transparent will they be? How will they communicate their
Yeah.
strategies? And I think what happened now with Disney with Onward is already a huge sign of where this might be heading.
And think about it, this might be the biggest challenge of Marvel Studios yet. They're a
Mm,
well-oiled machine first because their films are interconnected. Even though the Black Widow film is a prequel, there's this
mm,
chance that at the end of it, post-credit scene might set it up for the future that would affect the next property, which is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And there's been a debate online like how will they do that? Like how are they going to map it out again? Like they're not actually back. They're not technically back to zero. They're not, but they're
no,
just going to brainstorm and like you said, brainstorm on how to be able to address it, how to be able to communicate it, not just to hardcore fans, but also to casual fans. Like,
mm,
hey, we're going to release this at this time. Like, dude, I think the best bet is for wait for all of this to die down. Like, not gonna release it on June, not gonna release it on maybe July. I don't know. That's the closest. Maybe on August. If you release it on August, will they move Falcon the Winter Soldier, or they will maximize
Um,
that?
yeah, the problem with that though, if you start moving your shows, then Disney Plus is sort of fucked because they're
yeah,
not drawing any new subscribers, and everyone has been waiting for Falcon and the Winter Soldier to come out, and for a lot of people, that's sort of the incentive to why they signed up for Disney Plus. So if
Yeah.
you're moving that, then why the fuck do I have to subscribe until
Yeah.
you give us Black Widow and Falcon the Winter Soldier? Why do we have to? Why am I still giving you my money if I could just wait a couple of months? As Joe said, Marvel is very lucky in many ways in the position they are in, because could you imagine if Black Widow was in theaters as soon as this coronavirus hit? They would be losing a lot more money. They would be
mm,
losing a lot more stuff. They wouldn't be able to plan,
Yeah.
a sort of to recoup some of their losses as well as they're probably doing now. So in many ways, Marvel is in a lucky position. I mean, they moved Mulan because um, they want to, as much as possible, to take over their Chinese
Yeah.
market, so they could
Yeah.
maximize the entire thing. So you know, it's such a tough call that let's say everything goes well in the next couple of weeks. Say a cure is found next month, then I guess at the earliest we could probably see Black Widow come out around June or July in time for the summer. Because
Mm.
if all is well by that time, people are gonna or will be itching to finally get out there and have some fun. So
Yeah.
Black Widow would be their sort of their escape from all this craziness.
The question for
Just want to give my yeah go
no,
Joe,
no,
you
go.
first. Okay, just want to give my thoughts about that. On fans who wants to release Black Widow over at Disney Plus. I think their point is, we want this already. We've been waiting for this. Now we haven't seen an MCU film in a long time. The word is urgency. But the thing is, it's a different experience when you see it in theaters. It's a different experience
Yeah,
when you're in there sitting in a cinema. Like the hypothetical scenario is, what if Avengers Endgame was released on Disney Plus? It's a really different experience. But you have fans cheering, you have fans surprised, you have fans there gasping because of the major twist. It's a really different experience when you release it in theaters.
yeah. Also, I mean, I saw some of the prices they put out for. I think it was Universal who put out their prices for Invisible Man and some
Yeah.
other movies.
Ah,
Like in our currency, that $20 is fucking expensive for one
That's yeah.
yeah,
for one for one
expensive.
title. If you actually
And
think
that's
about
just renting.
yeah, you have to like sort of they're gonna end up I guess deleting it a couple of days after that. So if I'm paying that much, I might as well pay for a full theater experience to get the most out of it, rather than just sitting at home and just watching it alone. Because I
Mm.
guess I guess what I'm trying to say is you know theater experiences vary differently. I mean, certainly here in the Philippines, I'd say it's a lot more fun than what I hear in the states, because in the states the food is expensive,
Oh yeah.
the are out of their mind expensive, and people are fucking crazy. It's not as bad
Yeah.
here, so I guess that's why I'm more biased to the theater experience, but I can't speak for everyone. So I guess
Mm.
everyone has their own say about this.
I mean, I can say in Austria, so if you want, like, US is much more expensive, but Austria is also like, if you want, you get a ticket. Let's say movies 3D, you pay about 15 euros, and then you pay an additional per person 10 to 12 euros just on food and a beverage. So going to the movies is about 26 to 28 euros. So it's not cheap, and it is an experience for most people. And to be honest, after all of this self quarantine, I wouldn't be surprised if people want just social interactions in any way. And I think it could benefit releases afterwards for people going to, especially like Marvel, like those movies that everyone trusts to be in quality, to have a good time,
Yeah.
especially if it has some nerdy stuff. That's going to be like where everyone flocks to it. Everyone's like, let's share this, let's watch this. It's going to be so much fun. The one advantage, and this may be a crazy theory,
Yeah.
but the one advantage that Marvel has is they always have an exclusive element to their films, the post-credit sequences.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I think, and I don't think it's going to happen, but if they would do this, they could say, we will release Black Widow on Disney Plus, but only for a week or 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
In, let's say, if this continues until July or June. And then, as soon as it's gone, they'll tease there's an exclusive, the post credit sequences are available if you watch it in theaters, and then you can
Ooh,
watch it again. Because then some months would go by that people haven't seen it still. Someone still got to watch it. And they have technically the time to do some post CGI work on some scenes that would have been cut, maybe, to give it, still make it differently, and kind of still be able to push a sales in cinemas, let's say, to make it an exclusive or an experience that people will want to go to after being quarantined.
yeah, I could sort of see them doing that, similar to what they did for Endgame, to get
Yeah.
that to beat Titanic, they sort of put it out again, quote unquote, with new footage, even though it wasn't really new. It just ended up being a bunch of fucking deleted scenes. Um,
Yeah, that was bad.
I could totally see them doing that. And yeah, you're right. I guess it's incentive for the diehard fans to check it out again. My again, another risk with putting it on Disney Plus is that everyone's gonna start fucking screen capping the fuck out of that
Yeah.
as
Oh
soon as
God,
it comes
yeah.
out.
Spoilers
Could
will
you
be
imagine?
everywhere.
Yeah, all the spoilers on Twitter. Everyone's gonna post like the pivotal scene or whatever twist there is. Oh shit, Rachel Weisz is Taskmaster. People are gonna
Mhm.
post about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It, it'll be a tough call for Disney to make for sure.
I mean, the worst thing is this film, they've been making such a big thing about the identity of Taskmaster that it adds an extra layer of, oh shit, do we release this or not?
So whatever the case may be, guys, once all of this dies down, I think all of us, all of us around the world, wants that escape, are craving for that kind of escapism, and Black Widow is at least on the top 5 of that list. Watching a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like as Variety reported, the film doesn't allegedly affect the MCU timeline. So whatever they put it in, they're adamant that the chronologically the story they want to tell is safe. But who knows if that's true? If that's true, then maybe you could sort of put it back to back with Eternals, keep it like a month apart. So for the latter part of the year, everyone's just gonna be talking about Marvel stuff. But then
Yeah.
again, they could run into the same problems with Solo, where it was just too close to a Star Wars movie that it
Mm.
didn't make as
Hmm.
much money as it should have. So there's that problem also.
But they already did that. Like last year, they did that. Like Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame are 1 month apart. So I think
Yeah, that's
they can
true.
possibly do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it for the exchange. And I hope you guys are all safe. For all of us here at MC Exchange, for really praying for your safety. And please do, if you want a little escape from from all the stress and all the panic, you can follow us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/slash the MC Exchange. You can also follow us on Twitter. That's twitter.com/slash MC Exchange. You can read our articles. You can backtrack all the news. You can also listen to our podcasts. Oh, this is episode 11 now, so we have several more if you want, to pass time. Listen to us talk about anything under the MCU. You can listen to us over at Spotify. That's MC Exchange Podcast. You can also listen to us on YouTube. There's also sets of videos there that you can, have that nostalgic feel about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, edited by our own Charles Villanueva. You can also, we have several more platforms. If you don't have Spotify, you can also listen to us over at Anchor, at Google Podcasts, Breaker, and Radio Public. That's the one that I missed earlier. Okay. This has been me. My name is Aaron. You can also follow me on Twitter. That's twitter.com/AaronChino. That's AeronChino. You can follow Joe as well.
I'm at that Albel, ThatAberl.
And you can also follow Charles.
You can find me on Twitter at CFS Villanueva.
And if you want us to talk about topics or you want to suggest topics, give out comments, you can do so by tweeting us on the social media accounts that I mentioned earlier. This has been the MC Exchange Podcast. Hope you guys are safe. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Stay safe.